Thomas was convicted almost 2 decades ago of fatally stabbing his ex-wife, her 1-year-old daughter, and their 4-year-old son, and cutting their hearts out. While behind bars, he took out both eyes, eating one of them.
Hello, and welcome to Crime Time with the Easy E. Yes, the King, where we turn criminals into the roaches that they are, and then stomp on them, or make them disappear. Shit. Okay. Now, awkward pause, as I try to recover and pretend that didn't happen. Anywho, a Texas death row inmate who killed 3 people, including 2 kids, and later gouged out both of his eyes and ate one, was granted a delayed execution. Andre Thomas, 39, was sentenced to death for the 2004 killings of his estranged wife, Christine Boren, 20, their 4-year-old son Andre Lee, and her 13-month-old daughter Leah Marie Hughes. He cut out the children's hearts during the fatal attack. Thomas was to be executed in Texas on April 5th, but State District Judge Jim Fallon issued an order on Tuesday withdrawing the execution date. Thomas' lawyers had requested additional time to prepare for a court hearing to review his competency, citing mental illness. The Supreme Court prohibits executions of the intellectually disabled, but not for those with mental illness, and has ruled that death row inmates must be determined competent before the execution. We are confident that when we present the evidence of Mr. Thomas's incompetence, the court will agree that executing him would violate the Constitution. Maury Levin, Thomas' attorney, wrote in a statement, "Guiding this blind psychotic man to the gurney for execution offends our sense of humanity and serves no legitimate purpose." After the killings, Thomas told police that God instructed him to carry out the fatal stabbings and that he believed the 3 victims were demons. In prison, he gouged out both of his eyes during 2 separate incidents, according to his lawyers. He ate one of his eyeballs to ensure the government could not listen to his thoughts, according to the attorneys. More than 100 religious leaders had asked Governor Greg Abbott to stop the execution before the judge's ruling last week. J. Korea Hashmore, with the Grayson County District Attorney's Office, argued that the faith leaders and others calling for clemency for Thomas are not fully informed about the case and have not read any reports or evaluations about his mental state. None of these people know anything about the case. They are parroting what the defense has told them, Hashmore said. He added that he has reviewed records that indicate Thomas knew about his execution date and that he was aware that he is in prison because he killed his estranged wife and her kids. Thomas attorneys have until July 5th to file their motion, asking that the inmate's competency be reviewed before his execution can proceed. Check out these videos.
Thank you, sir. Well, today, convicted death row inmate Andre Thomas asked for clemency from Governor Greg Abbott and the Texas Board of Pardons and Paroles. The request is to commute his sentence because of his diagnosed mental illness. Thomas murdered his ex-wife, their 4-year-old son, and her 13-month-old daughter. He cut out all of their hearts after stabbing them to death. Just before his trial, you may recall Thomas pulled out one of his own eyes, and after being convicted, he pulled out the second eye and ate it. In addition to clemency, Thomas's legal team is requesting prison records from the Grayson County courts to show that Mr. Thomas is not competent to be executed.
The 8th Amendment to the U.S. and the Texas Constitution require that a person be competent, have a rational understanding of why they're being executed before that can happen. So there are steps to follow in that proceeding.
In the meantime, his execution is set for April the 5th.
2 weeks ago, we heard from Andre Thomas's defense attorney. She argues he's too mentally ill to even be executed under the death penalty.
As Thomas's execution date is just a few weeks away, prosecutors on the case want to share their side of the story. And News 12's Lauren Rangel has more about why the prosecution says, in this case, mental illness should not be a factor.
The murder of Laura Thomas and her 2 children is a case prosecutor Carrie Ashmore can't shake.
I think it's important to remember the brutality of these murders.
A jury convicted Thomas of stabbing all 3 people to death, then cutting their hearts out. Since the incident in 2004, Thomas has taken out both of his eyes, eating one of them. His defense attorney is arguing he is too mentally ill for the death penalty to be constitutional.
The question is he so mentally ill that he does not know his execution is imminent and why he is being executed? That's an entirely different question.
Texas law requires competency for the death penalty, meaning the person must know he or she is to be executed, and it is imminent. And why?
He's indicated that he knows his execution date is in April. He's also indicated that if the Supreme Court decided to execute him, he would simply stop taking his medication. These type of entries or these type of things that we've been able to find out indicate to me that he's competent to be executed.
Ashmore says Thomas's defense could file a motion claiming he's incompetent. A judge would then have mental health experts do an examination.
Unfortunately, so far, the defense has not filed that motion.
More recently, Thomas's defense attorney put in a petition for clemency. If granted, he is subject to the law existing at the time of his crime. And in 2004, there was no such thing as life in prison without the option of parole.
In the event that his sentence is commuted, he will be eligible for parole in 20 years, basically, when he's 60, 61 years old. We're here to see to that the justice, as determined by a jury, as affirmed by all the courts, that is carried out.
Reporting Lauren Rangel, News 12.
And Andre Thomas's defense attorney did send News 12 a statement in response to this story. She upholds he is not competent to be executed because of consistent hallucinations and delusions.
She adds the all-white jury with 3 members openly opposing interracial relationships had racial bias. You can read the full statement anytime at kxii.com.
Relief. That's how the attorney for Andre Thomas is reacting to the decision to hold the execution date for now.
Yesterday, News 12 learned the execution date for the convicted murderer was withdrawn. Tonight, News 12's Lauren Rangel talks with the defense about what comes next and how former prosecutors are reacting.
I am relieved and grateful to the court.
Grayson County's 15th District Judge Jim Fallon is withdrawing Andre Thomas's April 5th execution date, giving more time for his legal team to prepare a threshold showing he is incompetent for an execution.
We are confident that when we present all the evidence of Mr. Thomas's extreme and lifelong mental illness, that he will be found not competent for execution.
First Assistant District Attorney Carrie Ashmore calls the decision not unexpected because the defense has still not filed its motion to determine Thomas's competency. But Maury Levin says she's confident the court will agree Thomas's execution would violate the Constitution.
His execution serves no purpose and would offend all sense of decency and humanity.
Thomas was convicted almost 2 decades ago of fatally stabbing his ex-wife, her 1-year-old daughter, and their 4-year-old son, and cutting their hearts out. While behind bars, he took out both eyes, eating one of them.
Mr. Thomas is truly one of the most severely mentally ill men in Texas's history.
But Ashmore says the dozens of mental health experts writing to Texas Governor Greg Abbott have never seen Thomas's psychological assessments, medical, or counseling records. He adds Thomas meets the requirements of competency for the death penalty. Thomas's legal team now has until July 5th to file a motion before a decision is made about whether or not an execution date will be reset. Reporting Lauren Rangel, News 12.
What do you think about this story? Let me know in the comments below. And be nice, or a frog you will become. Damn it. If you like the video, like, subscribe, and hit that bell to receive notifications of when we upload a new video. Also check out our merch at sen1he.com.